SMTN.
How's it going, everybody, and welcome to Shin Megami Tensei Network Link 350. I am your host, Spencer Presley, and joining me for a very special post-Pacific podcast. I was going to say post-Atlantic. I mean, I guess it kind of does. It works both ways where we're located, but I'm joined once again by Genki, who has survived not only another year of TGS, but a recent onslaught of... I would say this year has to just be described as an onslaught of games. If anyone says like, "Oh boy, there's no games coming out in 2024. It's real rough out there," Genki, I feel like you could also agree. It's been a busy time for games.
Yeah, for sure. So many releases coming out. Yeah, and especially from like the Japanese publishers, so it's a good time for video games.
But yeah, it's been about 2 years since we had you back on. I can't help but notice you decided to blow up on Twitter, so congratulations / how dare you.
Oh, thanks. Oh yeah, in the last 2 years, I think I got quite a lot of followers.
It's really funny because I was like trying to think about it of like, for most people out there who would probably know you, you're kind of like up there with those like Twitter accounts that I mean this in like the least cynical way possible. I feel like you would know this, but I gotta preface this for other people out there. It's like there will be these Twitter accounts that make me think, wow, there's a lot of people out there who just don't know that this is what Japan's like, and think like you're just living in some crazy alternate universe that only you can see, because like there's such a big divide between like Western versus like Eastern Twitter of like, oh hey, I'm just out at a shop. And like, look at this ad I found. Look at this look at this trailer. Look at this thing I found. And like, a lot of people are interested in it just because like obviously we don't have kind of similar marketing beats or like the way like games are kind of covered or other things like that, even kind of like related to TGS or even just like how you go and like buy games and electronics and stuff, that it's kind of funny of like it just sort of takes one thing of being like, oh, look at this weird 3D billboard I found, and then it's like, there you go, you have like 1 million people watched it.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think that's like the like key point that I have, like that people become interested in my account. But yeah, mainly just on Twitter is where like all my followers are. But yeah, it's just because I'm just tweeting random pictures like to do with video games around Japan, and then people are like, oh wow, that looks cool, and then they start following.
Because like I can think of a couple of things that were like really, really big ones for you. I know, especially like leading up with like Final Fantasy, just because we're both such big fans of it and stuff with it, were like big ones. Like,
hmm
was there like one or two big moments for you there? Like, oh wow, this was like, I got a weirdly large amount of attention, or I got a lot of people following me when these things were happening, or like when you tweeted something out.
hmm Oh, I think it's like been like a gradual thing, just gradual build up. But maybe some points, I think at the start I was tweeting like the Japanese gaming stores, and those ones got a lot of attention. So just like comparing the different sections, like the PlayStation section versus the Xbox section versus the Switch, Nintendo section. So those tweets were doing really well at the beginning. And then after that, it's just like, yeah, I've been tweeting about Final Fantasy. Like when I tweet about some like Final Fantasy stuff, it blows up. Or like sometimes I translate some stuff, like some stuff is like said in Japanese or in like Famitsu magazine, and I'll translate that, and that will become popular, and like news sites will pick it up, and then like I will get like likes and attention that way. Was another way. Yeah,
Because
but it's just doing that a lot, and then it does the following just build up like that.
So right now you're like just under 50K in terms of followers on Twitter, and I want you to know I need you to mentally prep yourself for getting over 100,000. Once you start posting those Stellar Blade photo mode shots, it's all over. That's going to be your whole account.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was another big point. It's the Stellar Blade. I got a lot of attention over Stellar Blade.
I
Yeah, people were calling me like the marketing guy for the game. I was like,
has anyone from Shift Up been like, here you go. Here's a lifetime supply of Nikkei gift cards just for you, Genki. Thank you.
oh no, they did send me a code for Stellar Blade. But yeah, that's all I got from Shift Up. But they were kind enough to send me a code, which is really nice. But yeah, I really like Shift Up. Yeah, they're like one of my favorite new studios that have come up recently, and yeah, mainly because of Stellar Blade. Stellar Blade.
Well,
And yeah,
it was funny. Like I remember us even talking about Stellar Blade back when it was like shown at the Xbox show like forever ago, like 2021 or so. And I remember my big thing more than anything, because like I was aware of their mobile game output, but not very much. My big one was like, wow, this like really feels like the first big AAA game out of Korea that isn't just like another MMO or like another like big budget kind of mobile game. And like, man, it's so funny. Like, I know it probably feels like Stellar Blade came out forever ago, but the fact that it was only like 6 months ago is crazy.
yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, and yeah, I think it blew up. Originally I was tweeting about it, but like it didn't get so much traction. But I think after like some more like revealing like shots about the game and like all this other like they have all these
I think the demo also was a
weird
big one. I think
people.
once people really started
Yes,
like
and then the demo
showing
was
the game,
another
I think that
point where it
it
jumped.
was like
Yeah,
it
it blew up.
attracted the weirdos like me and then all the
Yeah.
action game people.
And then it got all like the weird side of the internet, the like I don't know, they call it like I guess I'm part of that now, but like the gooners or whatever. That's
Oh
the
no,
first time
Genki,
I heard of that term.
don't throw yourself in the gooner camp. Don't
That's
be
the first time I heard of that term because of that game. But yeah, that got a lot of attention for the game then, and then it blew up even more. Yeah, so yeah, I was became like synonymous with Stellar Blade on Twitter.
That is so funny. Um, let me think of another one with it. By the way, very random. Just because I had also noticed it. Um, I thought like I thought at some point the kind of like hype for Stellar Blade, not like the hype, but like would kind of like even out and stuff with it. But what was really funny about it has just sort of been like, man, it's kind of and it is ironic just because they are doing the collab, but like I almost sort of feel like even if like we never got a Stellar Blade 2, which I know we obviously will at some point, it's just really funny of like it is kind of weirdly in that near camp of like Near Automata just has this weirdly specific thing of really good game, really devoted fan base without like much else kind of going on. Now like obviously we're not at a point where like I don't think there's a Yoko Taro for Stellar Blade, but it is just kind of funny that thing of like I could definitely see them kind of getting there in terms of like cult following because it is just that weird collaboration of like I think if everything about Stellar Blade looked the same but it played really bad, or not even bad, I think if it played like a mediocre game, I don't think it would be anywhere near as popular as I think it is because of literally how good it is and how good it looks, that it's in that weird echelon of like it's really hard to have both of those even evenly put into a game, because I feel like so often we'll get games that look really great but control really bad, or maybe play really well but don't necessarily look that good.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah, I think it's that combination. Like it not only has like the appealing character designs and graphics, and visuals, but yeah, is actually a good game to play. Yeah, it's a bit harder to show that, but yeah, the gameplay is actually like the combat system is actually really fun. Yeah, but there are some issues with the game, like some of the level design and some of like the platforming. Um, but I think for their first game, it was like the gameplay is really good.
Yeah, I wish we knew who was like the one person at like Sony third party relations who was like, guys, we need to steal this game. Like, 'cause it's so funny. Like, it's got to be one of the weirdest games that Sony published this year.
Yeah. It's a quite a unique game for them to publish. And yeah, there was a lot of drama about, like censorship and all that stuff. And people were blaming Sony, and then I came out saying, no, guys, it wasn't Sony that censored it. It was like the director. It was like his own decision
Yeah,
to
and
censor it. And then people like was like, oh, you're such a shill. Like, oh, we like, because they believe this conspiracy that Sony was censoring it, or
yeah,
like
Genki,
forced the
it's not
developers
a
to
good
censor it.
headline. You can't make a clickbait YouTube video if you say game director changes his own game. You can't make that into a video. You have to
Yeah.
say evil corporate Sony puts chastity belt on Eve.
Yeah, and then people getting their clicks, they're grifting, rage bait clicks and stuff. But yeah,
I will
people
say
love a
this.
conspiracy though, so it's
I
good.
haven't I haven't had a chance to watch the live action My Dress Up Darling, but watching the internet reacting to that in such a hilarious way. Have you like seen some of the tweets about it?
No, I haven't seen that one.
So My Dress Up Darling has a lot of like very memorable scenes because like it's basically about like this it's the normal like romance shonen thing of like really overly embarrassed guy attracts girl, they both have crush on each other, and of course for 100 plus episodes neither of them will say it, but they get in awkward situations together, so they make cosplay together, he makes them and measures them on her. She likes to be like overly joking about it when like she's in revealing clothing because it makes them uncomfortable. And it was so funny if they changed the measurement scene and like everybody on Twitter was like, I can't believe this is the first time where the porn adaptation looked better than the actual live action. So
Oh my
people
god.
on Twitter were just were being like, I can't believe you have to watch the AV version of it to get a more faithful adaptation of the manga.
Oh no. That's funny. That's
It'd
terrible
be
then.
like,
But
I
yeah.
mean, listen, Persona 4 is really good, but like, it doesn't feel as good to the original. You gotta watch the really bad Persona 4 JAV. That's the only real way to watch the adaptation.
Oh no. That's horrible. Yeah. Oh yeah, I don't think I've introduced myself yet. So
You're Genki. You're just somebody on Twitter, and now you've self-described yourself as the Genki Gooner for Stellar Blade. That's now unfortunately how everyone's gonna know you.
oh yeah, I
Genki,
get
who
I
are
get
you?
I get that I get that nickname a lot on Twitter.
Please don't advocate that nickname.
No, I won't. Yeah. But yeah. Yeah, I'm mainly Genki, and I'm mainly on Twitter tweeting about video games from Japan. Also sometimes some other video games like Stellar Blade, Korean games, and some other stuff. And I also have a YouTube channel. It's Genki Gamer, which I post like video tours of like shops and different events in Japan. Yeah, but yeah, please, yeah, if you can, follow me on Twitter or on YouTube.
Yeah, and we'll have all the links and stuff. So YouTube will be uh, basically in the title. Anyone can click on, and then on our show notes, everyone will be able to have that on there. My big question for you,
Cool.
Genki, how much longer do I have to wait for episode 7 of the podcast? It's been
Oh,
like 12 months now. What's going
oh
on there?
yeah. Thanks. Yeah, I wanted to have you as a guest and lots of other people as well. But yeah, because I was like, oh, let's try to start a podcast. But just yeah, life in Japan is like busy, and like it takes so long to like edit the podcast and film it. Um, yeah, it was I just ran out of time. So I was like, oh, I'll put that on the side until like I can. I'm trying to start up another new podcast, so I'm in talks with someone. We're gonna talk about starting a new podcast. Well, it's not just me by myself because I found that like yeah, I was doing like what you're doing now, like trying to get different guests every week or
It's
every other
hard.
week. Yeah, and it's hard to schedule, and because most my guests would be from like the US or from like non Japanese speaking countries, like the time zones wouldn't match up for me, so it's kind of difficult because there's not that many guests I could get from Japan that speak English about games so much. Yeah,
It's
so
it is tough because like there is a large amount of English speakers in Japan, but I'm trying to think of ones that don't already have their own podcast. So, like, that's the funny thing. I'm like, no, they already
Yeah.
do their own thing. Or like, so like it is a tough one with it, and I've even like honestly being candid, I've had a lot of tough, not tough, but I've had a lot of times of thinking, okay, so when we started the show from 2012 to like 2018, it was basically the same core cast of either 3 to 4 people on the show. And then like 2019 sort of evolved into this from 2019 to 2024 of like, okay, let's just get as many guests on the show as possible. But I've kind of like been like, man, I liked that. I like having that consistency of always like, it's really easy to sort of like plan schedule wise of like, hey, you, 1 or 2 other people every week, you guys can be like, all right, you don't have to ask, okay, who's going to come on? You just have to ask, all right, when can we do it?
Yeah, yeah. I think yeah, if you have like a regular cast, you can be more consistent with your scheduling, which helps a lot. Yeah. So for me, like the schedules weren't working, so I was like, I haven't got time for this. But it was fun doing it. It's just very time consuming. So
You
yeah,
would you would have
props to you as
loved
well.
you would have loved slash hated our original lineup was 2 Westerners in America, someone in Europe, and someone in Australia. And we did that for like a year of like trying to get everyone's time
Oh damn,
zones.
that's
It was
crazy. Yeah,
like
that's all the time zones.
you could normally do 1 or 2. Doing 3 very
Yeah, one or
hard,
two.
like getting
Yeah,
3 different
three.
time zones all at the same time.
Yeah, to match up. Yeah, that's tough.
But I'm excited for it. I'm always such a big fan of. I mean, pretty much honestly, like your YouTube channel is very much like Spencer bait for sure. I don't follow a lot of like normal like YouTube channels in the sense of like I am not interested in the type of videos that's like guy with guy with game collection behind him talks about Mario 64 for the 100th time or something. I like either looking at stuff of like, oh, hey, here's places either I don't get to visit very often, or like long form discussion, stuff like that with it. Like, so I love watching either like video game store videos or kind of like different event coverage or just like long form things like that, just because it's that thing of like where I'm at. And I always find this like so funny, especially because like where I live in Kansas, I'm in like the most populated part of Kansas, and this blows my mind that this is true. We have at least like no joke like 10 different local card shops. Like if I wanted to go somewhere and play like Weiss Schwartz, Shadowverse, Pokemon, Magic the Gathering, whatever, I've got a bajillion places to do that. Same thing with like Warhammer or Dungeons and Dragons. We have 0 video game stores outside of GameStop.
Oh no, that's sad.
Well, yeah, and it's just so funny. Like man, and it's really got to that point of like, if not for the fact that man, opening a store, especially nowadays, very financially horrifying and scary idea.
Oh
But it would just be
yeah.
like, man, like I've seen so many great examples and so many like successes of it like happen. I would love to do it myself, but it's that thing of just like the amount of time, money, and like just like, all right, well, you just got to commit to it is like such a roadblock that like, I mean, I can't ever blame anything like for that of not happening, but at the same time it's like, oh, because like it really just sort of depends, because like there are some crazy like video game stores here in America for sure, but they're very sort of spread out, very few and far between. And it's gotten a lot better. It's because like I think back in the day, it really used to be like, okay, your major West Coast cities, your major East Coast cities, like obviously Arizona, Washington, Florida, New York, you're gonna have like a lot of really big video game destinations and stuff. Whereas like nowadays, like there's a lot of stores kind of out there. It is just funny of like where I'm at specifically, smack dab in the middle of the country. There's literally nothing.
Oh wow. Yeah, I think yeah, that kind of sucks. Like a lot of the West, like even where I was born in London or England, the game stores are also like closing down. Similar to the US, like you just have like the big chains, like we have Game in the UK, and yeah, so it's similar to what's happening in the US, and yeah, the small like independent stores, they're like slowly going away and closing down. So because yeah, they're not that viable these days with the move to digital. Everything's going to digital, so you're just selling like retro games, and it's hard to get like consistent revenue from those. So yeah, that's sad. But that's one thing I appreciate about Japan, because it's still like there's the people in Japan still value physical media. Yes, every year it's getting less and less, but it's a lot slower than in the US, like the move to digital in Japan. So you can still see lots of really cool video game stores around Japan, like big ones, mainly chains. They don't have too many independent ones, but you can find one or two. But there's still lots of big video game stores, and they're always fun to go around.
Without doxing yourself too much, what is your go-to? Okay, game's coming out. I want to pre-order it, or I want to go pick it up in person.
Oh, okay, yeah. If it's like a big game and like I want to check out, oh, what's the vibe of this game at launch? Like the best place is the one in Akihabara. There's like a Yodobashi camera. It's like a massive,
Oh yeah.
really giant video game store in
Really,
Akihabara, and they
I do love Yodobashi camera, just because it's like, I think if you're a forwarder, you're like, oh no, it's way more than just cameras. It's like, no, they do,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
they sell like everything electronics there.
Yeah, every electronics you can imagine, they have it there. Yeah, yeah, kitchen stuff, like kitchen appliances, TVs, radios, lightings, washing machines, everything, and video games. So, yeah, usually they have some cool displays there. So I like to go there and pick up the game there if it's like a big game, and just see what the vibes are. So like I did that for like Astrobot. They had like some cool displays for Astrobot there. But in terms of my local one, uh, yeah, there's like a big camera next to my house, so I'll pick it up there if I want it like quickly. Yeah, usually I just order on Amazon there.
Oh man, me and Amazon rivals right now. I
Oh yeah, I
for
heard about your collector's edition.
the longest time I was like, I don't know, man. I just like going to a store and picking up a game too much, that like any game I've wanted in recent memory, I'm like, I am not saying GameStop has to be like your go-to choice, but like I could have pre-ordered through GameStop, through Best Buy, even like other outlets I know online, like Video Games Plus are like really, really good ones. But it's so funny. It was like Amazon. The reason I had my Metaphor Collector's Edition through them was Amazon. At the end of the day, if you are someone with either you're not sure if you have the money right now, Amazon at least is the one of, you can pre-order it as long as you're fast enough. There's no charge, there's no nothing. You know you're going to get your copy 9 out of 10 times. Like Amazon, if you're, as long as you're buying something new, you're always going to be fine with it. Buying anything after release, like it's always such a minefield if you don't know what version it is. You don't know if it's going to be like, oh well, here's the French Canadian version, or here's the USB version, or like here's the PEGI version for no reason. So like,
Oh wow, that's random.
that's like, yeah, Amazon, and it's specifically Amazon US, like has gone downhill for buying games post launch way more. And it's just been so weird of like, now like if I was buying a game that's like relatively new but I can't find it at like a big store nearby, I would rather do eBay than Amazon, because it's like, there's a picture, you know what it looks like, because like 9 out of 10 times you see on Amazon they're just using the same stock image. And it'd be like, I remember they were like selling the last Digimon game, like Digimon Survive. People were like, whoa, Digimon Survive for like $15, sweet. And then you ordered it and it's like some copy from like Czechoslovakia. It's like, I mean, it's
Oh wow.
still fine, but like, it's just like, where are you sourcing this inventory? Like, where did you get this?
Oh wow, that's crazy. Yeah, it's kind of sad to see that physical media going that way, because I'm also like yourself a big fan of physical media. So I prefer, my main preference is to buy games physically, if I can. Yeah, so I'm lucky Japan still has a like decent system, like it's quite reliable when you buy your physical games from any store. But yeah, it's sad that I hear like stories like that from the US, and yeah, like less physical media being printed, or people just relying on like limited run to make physical games instead of like big publishers doing it themselves. Yeah, it's kind of sad.
It's so funny how like limited run has changed over the last like 5 years. Of like 5 years ago, I remember literally being on this podcast with people and they would be like, oh my god, I would love it if limited run put out a release of like Persona 3, versus now when it happened, people being like, oh no, why is it limited run's doing Yakuza? No, I don't want them to publish Yakuza, please, Sega, just do it yourself.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny
Like
how
it's
it's changed.
Oh man, and it's funny too because like if you're Sega, you're like there are still more people who would rather buy it from hate buy it from limited run than protest it. So like the only way they will stop working with them is if things stop selling. Like I told people, not like as publicly, but like I told people once they got the ability to do Sonic, like with their big collector's edition of Sonic Generations, I was like, oh, it's over. If Sega
Yeah,
will
that was
give
a big
them
one.
their
That's a crazy
biggest,
one.
yeah, if Sega will give them their biggest IP to publish for them, yeah, they'll do anything.
Oh wow, that's crazy. Yeah, yeah. I think yeah. In Japan, Sega's still doing publishing that the collector's edition. But yeah, for the US, I guess the limited run is doing that one. So yeah, that's a crazy one.
Well, I more find it funny. Like, there's two things about that collector's edition that's funny. Number one is it's the only way to get a physical copy in America for PS4, because Sega's last PS4 game they did physically was Persona 3 Reload. So we didn't get one for Metaphor, we didn't get one for Unicorn Overlord or SMT5, and all of those have only been over in Asia, which is funny that they'll do that, where they'll skip PS4 here, but in the West we still get Xbox physical.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
Well,
I yeah, it's like I think it's up if in Japan like they don't do any Xboxes, but they have the PS4 and the PS5 versions.
Well, yeah, and it's funny because we'll talk about, like, we brought it up last week of they will advertise primarily these new Atlas games, and then but be like, oh well, you have to buy them digitally though. Like there's no like fancy like Xbox collector's edition over in Asia or anything. It's like, oh, we have the advertising rights for these games, but you can't go to a store and buy it. You can go to a store and maybe buy like a download code. That's about it. Which is really funny because the publishing agreement over here for certain bigger publishers, especially if you have a marketing deal with them, it is baked into the Xbox publishing agreement that you have to release games digitally and physically as long as you are financially able to. Um, it can range for other kind of different releases, but like that's why like there have been crazy things of like they even did a release like physically for. I mean, I was more shocked they put out anything for Xbox with Vanillaware, but like Unicorn Overlord coming to Xbox and not PC was so funny to me. It was like the weirdest example of like, well, we're not doing this because
Oh
we
yeah,
want to.
it's
We
funny.
probably have to. Like, we're probably legally obligated to do this now.
Oh yeah, that's a funny one. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, so it's interesting, like the Xbox Atlas marketing thing, and like especially how it works in Japan with like on Twitter and all their like social media posts. It's all like Xbox marketing. But when you go in the shops, it's you don't see the Xbox marketing there. So it's kind of funny how that works.
So, kind of talking about games though, obviously both of us have picked up Metaphor. Hilariously, neither of us are very far, so we will not be talking about Metaphor. So, for all the people out there, great news! There will be no Metaphor spoilers on this. But what else have you picked up recently, and what have you been playing?
Oh yeah, cool. Yeah, recently, so yeah, there's so many games come out recently, so it's kind of crazy. Like last week was like Silent Hill, Dragon Ball game, Metaphor, which the all games I'm interested in, but I haven't had the chance to actually like get to them yet. Yeah, I picked up the Metaphor Collector's Edition, and so yeah, I hope I'll be starting that soon. But yeah, the last game I bought was before that was the new Zelda game, Echoes of Wisdom. So I've been playing that still. Yeah, hopefully we'll finish that this week. So yeah, I've been playing that a lot, and yeah, I'm really enjoying that. It's like the traditional like 2D top-down Zelda. But yeah, they have like these cool new mechanics with the echoes, which you can like copy like so many random items and enemies as well. All the enemies you fight against, you can copy them and then use them to as like your minions, or like you can send them out. Like you can like summon them and then use them to battle or use them to like traverse the environment. So it's a really cool game, and it's not that difficult. But yeah, it's just like a really light-hearted game that I've been enjoying. Because yeah, this year I've been mainly been playing PlayStation 5 games because there's been a lot of really cool games like Rebirth, Stellar Blade, Rise of the Ronin, loads of games like that. So I'm taking a break from PS5 at the moment, like a short break, just to play some Switch games. Yeah, I picked up that Zelda game and also went back to Pikmin 4. Those are the games I'm playing at the moment. Yeah, also Astrobot, like the new speed runs just came out for that, so I jumped back into Astrobot for the speed runs, which was quite fun thing to do. Yeah, it just took like one night to because they just released one new speed level and they're releasing them weekly, so that should be fun. Yeah, so that's what I've been playing recently. Yeah, how about you?
Well, you've been playing every game I want to play but have not played.
Oh
So
yeah.
really funny. Of like, we have had so many games coming out, and I'm like, dude, literally everything you've mentioned, with the exception of Metaphor, I not only do not have, but I definitely also do not have the time to play. Because it's really funny. Of like, all right, well, obviously, if I'm able to like financially buy Metaphor, because that was like my big thing of I was like, all right, well, I just started another job, but I obviously don't want to be like too financially irresponsible. And if I'm like, if I can't
Mm-hmm.
afford, like if I like, there's the difference between like you could afford to do this, but should you do this was the big
Oh
thing with
yeah. Is it a good
Metaphor.
idea for
Yeah,
your
and
finances?
and it was really down to the wire of like I don't know if I can or not. And it was really funny of just being like, okay, I can do it, let's go and do that, and then being like, oh well, there's still all these other games I haven't bought, want to play, can't wait to play. And like I'm like, oh well, obviously I'm trying something different for me, which is gonna sound funny because this just makes me sound like a normal person, but like I very much before would be the type of like, oh, if
Yeah.
5 games come out at once, I will buy all 5 games at once because I want to support those developers, and just kind of like, if I was financially able to, like, hey, I want to support these things and buy them at launch and be there, even if I may not play this for like a couple of weeks or a month or two from now. Whereas like now I'm like, honestly, there's probably a good chance I don't get any other new video games, like really, really new video games, until maybe Christmas or next year, because I'm like, all right, well,
Mm-hmm.
Metaphor is going to be very long, and I don't want to really play anything else besides Metaphor till I beat it. And once I beat Metaphor, I'll be shocked if I beat it before like let's say like before next Thanksgiving. And it's that thing of like, yeah, well, then I have other stuff to kind of work on. It will be getting closer to the holidays and other things like that, and I'll just sort of save up. Or what I'm hoping is going to happen is then with holiday deals, especially in the West, man, we slash prices on games so disgustingly fast. It's
Oh
so
yeah.
funny.
I'm so
Um,
jealous.
well, it's like what's extra funny is like I was even talking to a friend of mine. I was like, oh, I can't wait for Sonic and Shadow Generations, and even that game at $50, I'm like, let's be honest, it'll probably be like 30 or 40 by the time the Sonic movie comes out in December.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, especially around you guys have your Black Friday, like famous Black
Dude, Black
Friday.
Friday is insane.
And
Black
yeah,
Friday starts like in
that's probably
October
the
now.
best time. Oh really? Oh wow. So the price, I'm always jealous, like look watching from afar saying, how your games get that cheap? Because in Japan we don't get such generous discounts around
I
the
mean,
holidays.
I always tell people it's so funny because like I'm such in a not popular opinion with this, but I'll tell people and I'll be like, if you complain about game pricing in the West, that tells me you know nothing about international game pricing. Because like it's so funny when I see people in other countries show me on like, oh, here's how much like even something like Lollipop Chainsaw is like on Steam in like this like country in like the Middle East or something like most people may not be aware of, and it's like 3 times the price. And then you have people in the West being like, oh, like and I'm only doing this voice just because like I super disagree with it, but like I know most people do have this opinion. People in the West legitimately are like, if a game is set, like no game should ever be $70, and I'm like, that is such an insane logic for me. When like I know that like so many games come out, especially in Japan, like at launch the normal price might be like 70 to 90,000 yen.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
And like,
they have like the JRP or like the RPG tax as well,
oh
because
yeah,
like
well,
JRPGs are more expensive.
but a friend of mine in Japan, he has the he had like an extra coupon. You know, like how Nintendo does. Oh, I forget how much does it cost you guys for the two game Nintendo coupon thing? It's like
Oh
I
yeah,
think it's a
like
hundred
yeah,
bucks here.
Ichiman,
Yeah,
like
how much
one
is that
ten
for
thousand
you
yen.
guys? Okay.
Yeah, it's like 10,000 yen as well
So,
in Japan.
so he has the like buy this, you get two free Nintendo games and you can redeem them at any time. And he's been like, all right, well, there's no other big Nintendo games coming out this year. He wants, what should I get? And he was like, oh, we should get an RPG just because it's going to be a good amount of money. And what I could not believe was we were looking at the prices because obviously even in Japan and the West over here, Nintendo does not discount their things if ever or very often price wise, especially digitally. And it was so
Hmm.
funny. I could not believe Tokyo Mirage Sessions still costs as much as Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I'm like,
Oh wow, that's crazy.
that's so funny. Like the comparison of those of like obviously here's a Wii U game from 2016 versus here is a 2023 no 2022 RPG that's like 100 plus hours.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yes, but he's saving some money if you're using the coupons for sure.
Yeah, but it, it's one of those funny ones, and like I wanted to sort of ask you, like obviously games have always been expensive. It's a really luxury hobby, but especially in Japan right now where the yen is so weak, have you ever found yourself being like, okay, maybe I'm not going to buy as many games, or maybe I have to be a little bit more careful with when I buy them? Because like even though like we
Hmm.
definitely have sales a lot more uh, steep probably than you guys do over there. Like there will definitely be times of like I remember there used to be news articles back in the day of like, do you remember when 13 came out and people were like, I think Final Fantasy 13 came out and it was like almost like 100,000 yen for a copy on like PlayStation 3, and then like 2 months later it was already like 50% off, or like used copies were even less. And it's that thing of like, well, yeah, they print a bajillion copies of it, and then once all the suckers like Genki and I buy it at launch, they're like, all right, well, we got to lower the price of the normal people buy it now.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah. Oh yeah, that actually that like in Japan, like they have this system. I think in America in the West, like when you buy things from the shop, like when a store buys their stock of games, the ones that they don't sell, they can send back to the publisher or
Hmm.
whoever makes the games. But in Japan, they don't have that system. So that's something that's just like unique to Japan. So once they order a certain amount, they can't send it back. So they have to sell it. So that's why like the price gets cut so like dramatically, like if they don't sell them at launch. So yeah, that happens a lot in Japan. The price will just get cut like if it doesn't sell. So that happened with like Forspoken, I think, like because it didn't sell that well in Japan and they had a lot of stock, so that the price got cut quite quickly. And also, I think there was like a Dragon Quest game last year or Dragon Quest
Oh,
Treasures
the
or something.
Infinity Strash.
Oh yeah, and Infinity Strash, that one as well. Yeah, Infinity Strash. So yeah, that price got cut super quick, and it was like like half price or even less than half price, like a couple of weeks later.
But like for you, like have you sort of like found yourself either still kind of buying the same in terms of games,
Hmm.
being
Oh
a little bit
yeah,
more like selective, or like has your
yeah.
spending sort of
Recently,
changed recently?
recently I'm not. I have to keep telling myself that's the last game I'm buying this year because like there's so many games coming out and like some of them just end up like still in the wrapper. Like I bought Paper Mario RPG, the remake, and I haven't opened it at all yet. So yeah, there's just so many games and like yeah, I got to a point this year, like maybe halfway through the year, I was like, okay, I'm not buying any more games. But then some game comes out that interesting, you buy it. But yeah, I'm trying to be more selective, especially this year because there's so many games that are really good and really interesting. Like Sega's putting out so many games. And yeah, and there's a lot of like cool RPGs, and those take like hundreds of hours to complete. So, and I don't have that time at the moment. So yeah, I'm trying to be more selective with the games I buy at the moment. Yeah, I wish I had infinite time to play all these games because like yeah, that's all I want to do is just play them. But yeah, with like I work at a Japanese company, so got some time limitations and have to like overwork sometimes as well because it's Japan. So yeah, it's unfortunate I don't have enough time, but yeah, so I have been limiting like what I do pick up. But yeah, I try to, like you, I want to support the developers and buy them at launch. But yeah, there's some games I'm holding off until later or until they get cheaper. Maybe like yeah, like I didn't pick up Silent Hill yet or the Dragon Ball game, which are games I'm interested in, but I haven't picked them up yet. And yeah, it's too much money. Like spending like $200 in 1 week on video games, especially in Japan with like the yeah yen's really cheap at the moment. So a lot of Japanese families are maybe struggling with like inflation's not too bad in Japan compared to the West. But yeah, things are getting expensive like everywhere else. And yeah, the yen is like particularly weak. That's why there's so much tourism in Japan at the moment because the yen's super cheap. So it's like a super cheap holiday for most people coming from other countries with the stronger currency. Yeah, so that's an issue in Japan at the moment. And so, yeah, that is affecting people's spending, especially with the consoles getting more expensive. So, yeah, that's affecting the people buying the games these days. So, yeah, that is an issue that people have to worry about. And yeah, same with me, that's affecting my spending. So, I have to be more selective with the games I do eventually pick up.
Here's the wildest thing. This is how I know we're living in tough times, Genki. Nintendo put out a gold Nintendo Switch Lite for The Legend of Zelda. And I went, "Oh my god, that thing's going to be so hard to get. It's going to sell out immediately. I won't be able to get one anywhere." That thing's almost been out for over a month at this point, and there are more gold Switch Lites right now than like any other Nintendo system out there. And it's so funny because like for me, I'm sick and deranged and I want one even though I still love my Tears of the Kingdom OLED. But it's like, oh man, what a difference in like where we were even like a year or two ago of like people buying limited edition systems. And what I find even funny about it, because like Nintendo's even now like bundling stuff into entice things that I feel like we never would have seen before, because I don't think it's this way in Japan, but if you buy the Switch Lite here, it's only $10 more than it normally would, so it's 210 versus 200. And what's funny is still doesn't come with a game, because why would it? But what's funny is it comes with an entire year of Nintendo Switch Online, which I'm like, that's almost kind of better than a game, especially nowadays. Like if you like don't have a Switch or like someone like me who like, oh well, I have a lot of games, but like I never play Switch Online enough that I would buy it. But if it's bundled in with something and you get a whole year, I'm way more likely to use it, because like think of all the games then you get access to. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't have just. It's not just Nintendo Switch Online. It's the expansion pass version too. Like it's the expensive one.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
For $10 more to get that for a whole year, so you're getting GBA, N64, NES, SNES, Game Boy Advance, and Sega Genesis and stuff. And it's like, oh my god, yeah, like that's a crazy deal, because like the way they're advertising it now, they've started running ads for them since they haven't sold out, and they're like, hey, if you buy this, this is literally a Zelda machine. You can play Zelda 1, 2, Link to the Past, Link's Awakening, Original, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, all these other games, and it's just there. And I'm like, yeah, that's actually pretty, like, that's a really good deal when you kind of think about it like that. Outside of the fact that it's like a collector's edition system. And even now with Mario Party that came out, there are copies at launch that if you play Mario Party Jamboree, because it has that big like 64 player online mode, I think it might be like 30 something, but it's a big online mode they have with it. It comes with 3 months of free online. Because again, a lot of people might buy Mario Party, but how many of those people are paying to play Nintendo Switch games online when they might just be like, oh, well, I can just play it locally with my friends for free. I don't need to pay for online. And so, like, I think, like, the fact that we're seeing Nintendo, of all companies, bundle stuff in like that, when normally, like, this is a company who's known for unbundling things, says a lot.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, but that's a really good deal to get that online stuff. But yeah, I think they're not selling as much of those Zelda Switch lights as they would like, probably, because yeah,
Probably
it's
doesn't
a
help
tough.
that like everyone and their mom is like just hold out for the Switch 2. Just keep waiting. Any day
Yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah. Any day they'll announce it. Hopefully
And
soon.
and then we get Alarmo instead. Everyone's like, "No!"
I love that. Yeah, that's crazy. I'm not paying $100 for alarm clock,
Well, I
even
mean,
though.
Genki, it won't work for you. You're over here. You've got a harem full of women constantly sleeping with you. It's not going to work. That's for the single man, the lonely bachelor.
Oh
Genki over
yeah,
here, the family man. He's not over there sleeping alone. This man's no alarmo will work on you. Your bed is too active.
yeah. There's too many, too many. Yeah, got some kids in there. So
So, yes, game wise aside. Oh, I do at least want to give a shout out, by the way. People have rightfully so been congratulating Sega for just cranking out like banger after banger RPGs this year. I do want to say, I think we do have to give Nintendo either a pat on the back or ask, "Are you okay, buddy?" I cannot believe that we're still getting our third Mario RPG in 12 months with Mario and Luigi next month. That is insane.
oh yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, they've
I
been
really
putting
hope
out
that
a
game
lot.
sells well, by the way, man. If that game
Oh, I
bombs,
hope
I will
so.
be so sad.
Oh no, yeah,
I mean,
yeah. We already thought they
ironically,
would be over, but
I was shocked that RPG has sold better so far than Thousand Year Door. I almost was like, I wonder if it's a thing of because it was the first one of the RPGs to sort of come back. Because in my brain, I always sort of thought that Thousand Year Door was the one that everyone was always asking to get remade. But then I think about like, yeah, but you have to think if there's that interesting crossover of people who love Nintendo and Square Enix, and that game still very much has that like hardcore Square Enix fan following.
yeah, yeah. It's very yeah. That one's a lot more Square Enix coded as a game. So and I think it was just like it's so long since like the original came out. Yeah, I really enjoyed Super Mario RPG. With like the remake. It was the first time I played it. But it was really good and like they had like a charming art style.
Oh,
Maybe
the
with the
sound, the
Thousand Year Door.
soundtrack, Genki. That
Oh
soundtrack
yeah,
was
the
so good.
soundtrack. Yeah, because you remember, yay. Yeah, I was lucky enough to meet her, and then she signed my copy of Super Mario RPG. So I was like super happy when she did that. But yeah, the music on that soundtrack is like super good, and yeah, really like joyful and nice. And yeah, I really love that game. But yeah, I think it was just had a bigger pop, and it's probably like yeah, one of the first. It was one of the first of the remakes of the Mario RPG remakes, the modern ones. So I think that one did a lot better, and then probably the hype for like the Mario RPGs a bit fizzled out a bit when Super Mario A Thousand Year Door or Paper Mario came out. So yeah, it didn't do as well. Um, maybe yeah, maybe like the graphics are not that big of a jump as compared to Super Mario RPG. So yeah, maybe yeah, the hype's died down a bit, but hopefully it can pick up again because this is like a brand new game with Mario and Luigi.
I was thinking about this. Do you want to place your bet on who do we think is developing it? Because Nintendo still hasn't told us.
Oh, they
I
haven't said. Oh my gosh,
No,
yeah,
because yeah, they've been doing
yeah,
that weird thing where they won't say who's developing it, and you
yeah.
don't
Well,
find out until it comes out. And I was thinking
okay.
about this of like I'm still in the
What are
camp
you
that
thinking?
I think a small team at Monolith is working on it because there have been a couple of like people noticing
Oh,
like them talking
that
about
would
it,
be
and it would make sense
crazy.
because it's like, okay, well, that's a developer who could be working on it. I've heard some people say like Ilka, but I know they've been busy working on a bunch of other stuff. So I'm like, I don't. It's tough because it's like it doesn't look like it's a phoned-in game. Like it does look like an actual like big budget
Mm-hmm.
Mario and Luigi game,
Yeah.
but it's just sort of tough to be like, oh yeah, well, who would Nintendo give to this, especially since Alpha Dream is dead.
Yeah, sad they killed Alpha Dream. But it seems they've got some of the stuff from that like left Alpha Dream working on the new one.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, personally, I think it would be like another smaller outsourced studio, like Ilka or something like that. If Monolith Software doing it, that would be crazy. But I can't imagine because I think they usually just do support stuff or They're working on their own big games, but doing
See,
like
see, you say that,
contract
and then you got to
stuff.
think, what of those poor guys? What of those poor guys who used to do Project Cross Zone? What have they been working on? They're like, just give,
Oh,
because
very
remember
personal.
they used to do like small 3DS and DS RPGs,
Oh
so I
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
feel like that would sort of be up their alley.
Yeah, that would be amazing. I think if it was revealed to be Monolith Soft, that would definitely help the sales, and I think it could do quite good. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, from the outside looking in, like without knowing anything about the Monolith Soft stuff, it just looks like another like outsource kind of job. But yeah, because there are a lot of outsourced studios in Japan, so it's like kind of like Tensei and uh Art Dink or whatever who are doing the Dragon Quest stuff, and what's it Toy Logic or something like that. There's another
Yeah, Toy Logic has noticed have been doing a lot more. Tosei was one forever, especially with Square Enix games. Of like,
mm,
Tosei probably made some of my favorite underrated Square games are like 9 out of 10 times by Tosei. Like I was thinking
oh
about it
really, oh
recently,
that's cool.
of like, man,
Same.
I know, like it didn't bomb, but it definitely doesn't have I think the reverence that it deserves. I loved World of Final Fantasy. I thought that game was so
mm.
fun and so like it was good of like being a celebration of the series while still being a new thing, but I just think like because it was like it was right before the Switch, and I think it would have done way better on the Switch than it did on PlayStation 4 and Vita. But I mean, as someone like me who loved playing on the Vita way more, I love that it's there. But then by the time they finally got the chance to port it to other stuff, I think people just stopped caring.
Oh yeah, that's a shame. Yeah, yeah, that was a cool one. Like the cute little Final Fantasy chibi characters. They were quite cool. Yeah, I hope they do more stuff like that. That would be awesome if they can give some. But yeah, I think yeah, recently Square Enix have kind of been closing down on their like the spin-off or like the outsource games, and I've heard they cancelled a few projects. So I hope that wasn't one of them, or like that would have been cool. But yeah, I think it will be like a smaller studio that's making the Mario RPG games, but it'll be interesting. I don't know what the word on the street is, but yeah, I might start look into it and find out because yeah, it's annoying that like this new Nintendo they don't announce it. They're like hiding the developers until the game releases. You have to
I mean,
find out in the credits.
I can understand why to an extent though. Like especially when you think of like how not excited when Metroid Dread got announced. So many people were like, "Oh my God, Metroid Dread's finally coming out!" And then you find out Nintendo's not the one making it, and then you find out it's the people who did uh,
Samus Returns,
Samus
I think.
Returns.
Yeah.
I think probably a better example is I think when Samus Return was announced, people were like, "Oh, it's the Castlevania guys." Like Mercury Stream didn't have a bad reputation, but they didn't really have a good reputation.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I think if Metroid Dread was announced without a Samus Returns, I think a lot more people would be like, "Ooh, that didn't look very good." Um,
hmm
but it's always just so because like Bloober Team, great example. Bloober Team for years was
Mm.
getting shit on, and I won't say for no reason. Like what's always funny is when people are like, "Oh man, yeah, Bloober Team just cranks out these crappy games no one cares about." I remember I was reviewing launch PS4 games. In their first ever game, Basement Crawl, I played, and I remember when I posted my review for it, I was like, "Hey, yeah, it's a really bad Bomberman clone. It's whatever, forgettable," and I didn't think that much about it. I remember even then I was commended by they took the reception of that game and they were like, "Oh, it was so bad they basically ended up making a brand new one out of it." So like it got moved from Basement Crawl to I think it eventually was still Crawl, where it was like it's still a Bomberman clone, but they fixed a lot of the technical problems and other little things about it and offered it for free to everybody. But I remember always like taking that of like I remember how much they took that game being bad personally and wanted to improve. And it's been really nice of like following them from like Layers of Fear to Observer. And even like I like the medium. Like I know not everybody loves all their stuff, but like when they were officially announced for Silent Hill 2, I was like, "Oh no, like they can do it. I believe in them." Like they wouldn't like and it's tough too because I think it's also that weird doubleheader of the Konami thing. Like, listen, this is the same Konami who signed off on Silent Hill Ascension, so I understand people being like, "Oh no," like it's
Yeah.
really funny. It's like Konami. it's like they have a win and then a loss. They have a win and then a loss. Because like I find it really funny. Like, did you play the short message, the like little freebie Silent Hill
Oh
game last year?
no, no, I didn't try that.
I don't know what crazy pill some people on Twitter were taking, but a lot of people skipped that game because some people played it and were like, "Oh, it's a PT clone, and it's just this boring game about girls on their phone." And I actually like it's a full game. Like it has nothing to do with Silent Hill F, but it's by the same developers. And I was like, oh, I thought like that was like one of the most underrated games of last year, like that people just needed to give a chance to. And especially with it being like Halloween, I've been telling people like, hey, if you want to play something that's free, it's a full like 4 to 5 hour game, and you're feeling in the mood for Silent Hill, but you may not be able to buy Silent Hill 2. The short message was really, really good, and like there were a lot of people who just tried it and dipped. I remember like when Dustin from like Sacred Symbols was talking about it, he was like, "Oh yeah, like I wasn't feeling it and I left." And it's like it'd be like if someone played PT and then stopped right after they like looped the first time. They're like, "Oh, lame, it's just one hallway. All right, I'm going to shut it off." But like because it had that hype behind it and that mystery, I think a lot more people were going into it versus with Konami, especially where Silent Hill hadn't had any like wins in a while. I think a lot of people saw the short message and were like, "Oh no, I'm not even gonna try playing this thing. I'm gonna nope out." And it's a bummer because like it's a full game. Like it's not a demo. It really is like its own full self-contained like 4 to 5 hour game and stuff with it that they did a really good job on. But a lot of people saw the developer, they saw the publisher, and they're like, "Oh no, I'm not gonna play this. This is another bad Silent Hill game." And I'm like, bro, we haven't had any Silent Hill game since Book of Memory on the PS Vita. Like, we'll just try it. Why not? Like, how bad could it be?
Oh yeah, oh damn. Yeah, I'm glad to hear it's not as yeah, because I got the reputation from online that it wasn't great, but hearing it was good. Yeah, I might try it out.
And listen, if you try it or anyone else, like it's the funny thing is like anyone I've told to play it, even if they loved it or were like, "Oh, it's okay," I've never recommended that game, and anyone's come back to me and been like, "That was terrible." Like that was really, really bad. Like there's always at least
Hmm.
something to kind of like a cool takeaway for it, which I like.
Oh, okay, that's cool. Yeah, I'll keep that in mind. Thanks.
Um, but yes, that is the world's longest intro of what we've not been playing. Slash, let's just talk about RPGs for a while. To cut out the rest of it, I will at least say this because you and me are Square Enix shills. We're gonna do a really quick hype check of where we're at for 3 games, Genki. Where are you at for Romance Saga 2 remake?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. My type level sweat is not very high.
Non-existent.
Yeah, non-existent. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not. I haven't been tracking that one, so I haven't been following that. I
How
have.
many people?
Yeah,
How many
I'm not. I
people do
don't
you
have
think?
experience with that series, so
How many people do
yeah,
you
there's
think
too
don't
many
even know that
games.
game had a demo come out?
Oh, I had a demo. Oh, I didn't even know
That
that.
demo's been out for that for almost 2 months.
Really? Oh my gosh, for that long? Are they? They usually release it like a month before.
It's
Um.
very weird. The fact, by the way, that like this is their
Mm.
like second Saga game this year as well. Like I think it's actually like it
Oh
looks
yeah.
really good. Like I liked what I played of the demo, but I think that game is probably primed for not living up to Square Enix expectation sales. Surprisingly.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, I was much more interested in Visions of Mana, so that one like took my attention for like the early like for like this period. So yeah, I haven't been following the Romancing Saga at all. So yeah, I think it's too many RPGs at the moment, and yeah, I think Square Enix like I think maybe that one wasn't needed at this time because it's a bit too crowded with all the other RPGs coming out at the moment.
Have you? What was it? Did you see the? What was it? It was James McAvoy.
Oh yeah,
Speaking
I
of
saw
like,
that post. That was
he
a
was
cool
asked
post.
on an interview like what's like one of like your favorite like childhood memories or games, and he mentioned Secret of Mana, and I thought it was
Yeah,
so funny. It
that's
was like that tweet. There was more people talking about mana from that tweet than anyone who played Visions of Mana. I was like, that is so funny that like this tweet blew up way more than that. And like, think about how many people talked about that tweet versus when the game came out and everyone was like, hey, the entire developer got laid off.
Yeah, that's sad. Yeah, that was that was sad. But yeah, I saw that tweet and it was quite funny. Like it's like quite a random one to pull out from childhood memories. But I'm glad he has such a
He's
like
got
a
good taste in
kind of
games at
niche.
least.
Yeah, a good taste. Yeah, but
My
yeah, I'm sad that I hope the developers are okay from the Visits of Mana. But yeah, I don't think the game
on
sold
one
that.
that we don't have to worry about the sales being bad.
Hmm.
Dragon Quest III remake. I think that game might
Oh
sell
yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah, that one will definitely sell good in Japan. So in Japan, don't worry about it. So and I hope it sells well in the West. Yeah, it will be my first time playing Dragon Quest 3 because
What?
yeah, I haven't played
Oh my
I
god.
haven't played any of the early Dragon Quests.
What was your
This one,
first?
first one was Dragon Quest 9 on the DS, and then I got into the series from there. And I played a few of the 3DS ones, like the Joker ones, like the spin-off ones. And yeah, some like
Genki, you better tell me you've played 8.
no, I've never played 8
Oh my
either, because that was
god,
on
dude.
yeah.
Uh
Did they remake it? Yeah,
on
I'm not sure.
3DS, there's a
On
enhanced
3DS.
remake on
Oh, okay.
3DS. Highly
Yeah, I missed that
highly
one.
recommend it cuz it's the same developers who did 9. But I would say that was level 5 at their peak. Like they were coming
Mm.
off of
Yeah, that's when level 5 was
Dark
good.
Cloud, Rogue Galaxy. Like, oh my god, like
Yeah, White Knight
Dragon Quest
Chronicles.
8 is the Final Fantasy 7 of that series. I would say, like
Mm.
as much as I
Yes.
love like 11 and 3 and even 7, I really like 7. Although I know 7's a lot more controversial. Like 8 is the most comfort food that series gets. It's so good.
Mm. That's cool. Yeah, I should try that one then. Yeah, I've only played a few of them. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the Dragon Quest 3 remake because it'll be my chance to go back to those classic Dragon Quests. Yeah, so yeah, I played a bit at TGS and I was really impressed by like the HD 2D because I think this is like the best example of HD 2D that they've got going at the moment because like the levels are like really like well designed and like the artistic design of the HD 2D effects. They got like the blur around the edges, like the lens blur around the edges, and they got like the sparkling dust in the light, in the sunlight and stuff like that. So it looks really pretty, and the sprite work's also really good. So yeah, and it'll be a chance to. It's still like the classic Dragon Quest gameplay, but it's just got this really nice sheen or like filter on top of it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to playing that because yeah, I played Live Alive and I was a really big. That got me into like the
Oh
like
my god.
Team
So
Asano
did
HD
you not
2D
play
style.
did you not play the original back in the day?
Which one? Live Live?
Hmm.
Or which game's that? Oh no, never played that. Because yeah, it only came out in Japan, so yeah, until it popped up in that Nintendo Direct, I never heard of the game.
It is
Um,
it's always funny the HD 2D remakes kind of comparing them. I think like especially
mhm.
cuz like it felt like so many years, didn't it, before from announcement to release for Dragon Quest 3. That's like why like for a while even before the
Yeah.
release date got announced, it was so funny of people being like oh well they might just what is it like oh well I think that they might just be doing 1 2 and 3 and wrapping it all onto that. And now that we know that they're two different games, I think that's smart, especially with how short Dragon Quest 1 is and 2. I think bundling those makes a lot more sense than just trying to do a 3 in 1. And like if there was any game to remake for like especially Japanese 90s nostalgia, it's Dragon Quest 3. Like that game is so popular over there. Like it is absolutely insane. And what's so funny, oh, also apologies. Late 80s, early 90s. I forgot that was 88. But like Dragon Quest 3 is so big over there and is so fondly remembered for like that trilogy. And the fact that this looks as good as it does, like, I will not be shocked if, like, this is probably going to be, like, if not one of the highest selling games in Japan, like the best selling game all year, because there's no Pokemon, no other real big kind of competition outside of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth this year for them. And I'd be like, honestly, this is one that between PlayStation and Switch, I could see both platforms selling like over 250K.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think this will be the biggest game in Japan this year, as you said. Yeah, yeah, I see. Yeah, at least 500K across all platforms at launch, like physically. Yeah, that's for sure.
You know
So
what's
yeah, I
wild
think
though?
that would do good, really good.
I was just
What's
checking this
that?
out. I don't think there's a PS4 version.
Oh no, there is a
Is there?
PS. Think. So.
For
Oh
the
wait,
HD
yeah.
2D one. That's why I'm like, I don't think there's an HD 2D
Ah, I'm
PS4
not
version.
sure. That would be crazy if there isn't. But
Yep, it is not.
um,
Yeah, it is not on
oh
there.
okay.
It's one of those. It's one of those funny ones of like when games are on Switch but not PS4. It's just like, well,
Yeah,
it clearly isn't because it can't run on Switch. It's
yeah,
clearly
that
not because
happens
it can't run on
sometimes.
the PlayStation 4. Just because I feel like with like I honestly wouldn't almost be surprised if it's one of those things like because Konami also did this with like the Metal Gear collection of like even if it's just digital only a month or two later, just be like, oh well, we'll just put it on PS4 because like there are
Hmm.
even in Japan there are still so many people with PS4s that I think even
Yeah.
something like Dragon Quest, it's like, hey, put it on mobile, put it on PS4, put it on Xbox, just put it everywhere. Like people will play it.
Yeah, you get a few extra sales. That even happened with the Metaphor, like last week.
Hmm.
Even the PS4 got quite a good amount of sales, like almost 30 or 25 or 30K, thousand
Which especially by
units.
PS4 numbers in Japan, that's a lot. Like there hasn't been a PS4 game
Yeah,
that charted that high in a long time.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's always good to put in for Japan to put it out on PS4 if it like the hardware allows it. Yeah, but yeah, so yeah, I'll be surprised. I'm surprised that they didn't make her, but I guess they're just relying on the Switch because we know like a big majority of those sales will be on Switch for Dragon Quest 3.
And then last but not least, Fantasian finally being released from mobile jail. How are we feeling?
Yes, that's good. Yeah, that's another one I've never played because it's stuck on on Apple Arcade, and I'm not. Yeah, I just kind of dislike mobile games. I played a
Oh, I don't know
few.
why I thought you were gonna be like, oh, I hate Apple. I hate
Oh no,
iPhone.
no, I have iPhone. I just don't like playing games on mobile that much. Like I did try Ever Crisis and Final Fantasy Brave Exvius War of Visions. I played that for a while, and Pokemon Masters. But yeah, I'm not a mobile gamer generally, so I never got to play Fantasian. So seeing it coming to consoles finally, with like improved features for consoles. Like they speed up the character running, and there's a few other quality of life features like voice acting, and now it's in 4K, so like you can enjoy it to its fullest on console. It's also on Switch, which is really good. It's on all platforms. So yeah, that one's another game I'm really hyped for. So I'll definitely be buying that day one. So there's like one or two games which I have saved my money for, which like Dragon Quest and Fantasian. But apart from those, I'm trying to be more like a bit more stingy with what games I buy. But those two are definitely day one. So yeah, Fantasian I'm really looking forward to because I've never played it, and yeah, just seeing like Sakaguchi-san and Uematsu talk about the game. Like it's going to be Uematsu's last full soundtrack that he composed. So yeah, I'm looking forward to listening to that soundtrack and also playing one of Sakaguchi's latest games. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah, how about you? Did you play the original one?
I messed around with it on Apple Arcade. Apple Arcade is my favorite way to know if I'll like a game that's about to come out on console. Like Apple Arcade is usually one of those things that they're really good at picking games, but never good enough that I want to
Mm,
finish them on my phone. Um, I have been a really big fan of Mistwalker for a long time, so like to see honestly like more than them returning with Square Enix, I'm just glad Mistwalker is now back on consoles. Like it's been so many years
yeah.
since their games, and I think December actually is a really good month for that kind of game of like It's sort of in that like crisis core period of like it's before Christmas, you're going to get a lot of sales from that post holiday, but it's not a full price game, and you're going to get a lot of people who are just like, oh hey, like what's a good like kind of medium sized game to come off of, especially if you've more than likely probably already beaten Dragon Quest at that point. You'll be like, oh, what's the 100th RPG I can play this year? And I think like that one will be a really really good fit, and it's kind of a good evergreen title of like even if you don't play that game like at launch, it'll just be good to be there. I think like as long as technically they get it up to snuff, like that game looks fantastic, it sounds fantastic, the dioramas like look really good, and like the biggest things that they needed to work on for that game for me, I think, was unmobiling it, like making it not feel like a phone game, in the sense of like making it a little bit harder. I know they've been adjusting the balancing, so I think as long as that game comes out, maybe a demo might help. Because they've
Hmm.
already had demos that they've shopped around with it. Like some games need demos, and I think some games don't. Like Dragon Quest 3, maybe in the West could use a demo, but God knows it does not need one in Japan.
Yeah,
But
doesn't
like
need.
I think Metaphor
Oh
easily
yeah,
one of the smartest things they did was put out that demo. That demo sold
yeah.
so many people who, even if they were aware of it, maybe weren't going to give it a try, because like that demo was so meaty and so long, and the fact that it transferred over was so smart that I think that really helped it. And I mean, like I was shocked when I saw the player numbers for pre-orders and like on like launch day, but the fact that it kept rising, especially on Steam over the weekend, like it almost topped off at just shy under 90,000 concurrent players on PC alone, and that
Oh,
like
that's crazy.
they announced it was the fastest selling to 1 million they'd ever had. Like Persona 3 Reload already sold like 1 million copies faster than Persona 5 did, which was shocking. But the fact that this, which is technically on less platforms and is a new IP, sold 1 million faster is even more crazy. So I think it just had that thing of it showed really well. It has a great pedigree from the developers. Like, listen, I know there are some games you can say like, oh, from the makers of X or the makers of Y, and it'll kind of have some things. Whereas like I think it's a really big testament if people know going into this, hey, everyone knows how popular Persona 5 is. This is their next game. This is the new Persona. You need to play this. There is no Persona 6. There is just Metaphor. And I think because people knew that, a lot of people were clamoring for it. It's new. It's interesting. I think it's really smart it came out before Dragon Age, because we really haven't had a big budget like high fantasy RPG in a while. And honestly, I've almost had some people who are interested in both Dragon Age and Metaphor been like, oh, I might just wait till I'm done with Metaphor before buying Dragon Age, because like they're so similar in terms of like high fantasy setting, you know?
Yeah, yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I was really happy for that because it did seem like the buzz wasn't that big before the demo.
Oh my
I
god,
know,
dude!
like,
The tweets
oh
dooming
yeah,
Metaphor before it
oh
came
yeah, that
out were
was a bit
so
too
funny to
much.
me.
Yeah, that's too much. But yeah, because I know there's, like you said, there's a lot of hype just because it's from the guys who made Persona 5. But yeah, there wasn't that much buzz. But I think once the demo came out and like they got a lot more word of mouth. So yeah, I think that was, as you said, like one of the smartest demos that publishers have released. Because I think after that demo, that did convince a lot of people that weren't already on board uh, from the start. So yeah, that's good. But yeah, what did you make of all that drama?
The drama
Like
for that was
people like
so funny, of like people being like, guys, no one in history, I guarantee this, no one in history has ever said, oh, I'm not gonna buy this. Xbox is marketing it too much. I'm just not interested. No thanks, Xbox. I'm good. You're good. Just
yeah,
keep
that's
it to
crazy.
yourself. But like, even sales wise with it, what's so funny is like, and I think you tweeted about this too. The fact that Metaphor sold more in Japan than Dragon Ball is fucking insane to me.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. That's that was impressive. But yeah, I guess it's because it's like JRPG. or like an RPG
I
over an action game
Well, I mean,
in Japan.
and it's no disrespect to Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball, by the way, has sold multiple more copies than Metaphor worldwide. Worldwide, I think
Oh
Latin
yeah.
America probably sold at least 5 million copies of that game alone there. But like, think about like where Dragon Ball's at with hype. There's so much hype right now in terms of the nostalgia for the series. Daima just came out. Like literally,
Yeah.
the way they've been lining up releases with Daima is so impressive. Like the fact that fucking CyberConnect 2 coming out this week and being like, hey, you know Kakarot, that game we put out like 4 years ago? Well, we're going to do more DLC. We're going to put Daima DLC. And I was like, oh, it's like Bandai's got like 5 different Dragon Ball games all coming out all at the same time, and like they're all succeeding. So like it's just funny that it's like Dragon Ball has so much momentum going into it, and that's not even getting into the
Hmm.
like I think especially this year Yu-Gi-Oh saw it a little bit when the creator of Yu-Gi-Oh passed away, but like man, Toriyama passing away, I think sparked a lot of people around the world into
Hmm.
going back to Dragon Ball. And so like I think a
Yeah.
large part of like that, it's an IP that's finally coming back out. Like we haven't had a new sparking Budokai Tenkaichi game in 2 generations. We haven't had a real one since the PS2 that like people were hungry for that in a way that we haven't seen since Xenoverse. And Xenoverse is a really old game, like a really, really, really old game that still refuses to die. But I mean, as I'm one of the people who I love playing Xenoverse, but like even that, it's not scratching that itch exactly the same way that Budokai Tenkaichi does. So like Dragon Ball's had this crazy release. It's blowing up sales wise with it. I was so worried more than the Xbox marketing deal. I was worried that Dragon Ball would take all the attention away from it as a big budget anime looking game. And the fact that both of these games have been better sales successes than they ever expected made me so happy. Just because, like, I can't think of the last time we've had this many big budget games coming out of Japan and they're all doing well and selling well. Like it's so nice to see because I'm so used to the opposite being the case.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. I was really happy with seeing those sales numbers come through as well. Yeah, I was really shocked to like Dragon Ball did like 3 million in like 24 hours. That was crazy. And to see Metaphor doing so well as well, 1 million in like yeah, the first instantly. Oh, it was like crazy.
It's no
Like
Soul
how
Hackers 2, Genki. It's no Soul
oh
Hackers.
no, don't remind me. I bought the collector's edition of that, and I feel like the biggest idiot, like the
Oh,
biggest
come
fool on the planet
on.
Earth.
Come on.
It was,
You got a nice little Jack Frost figure
oh
though.
yeah, I got a nice little Jack Frost. But yeah, that thing dropped price like oh my so fast. It's crazy.
We
That
have copies
collector's
of that.
edition.
I see Soul Hackers 2 always on sale over here, like physical copies, brand new launch copies that are like $9. It's like I cannot
Oh
imagine it. It's so
no,
funny.
$9. Yeah, so yeah, definitely not the Atlas third pillar they were hoping for. But yeah, Metaphor does seem to be that, which is really good. And yeah, just like looking at how stylish the game is, and how yeah, it's not like super high budget game, but still just looks amazing. It's really impressive that like yeah, just like 1 million sales is like really impressive for that game at launch. I was like surprised there wasn't much marketing for it in Japan. Usually Atlas do quite big marketing for like the Persona games. Like they'll like deck out the whole of Shibuya with like Persona marketing or something like that.
It
But
almost kind of
there
feels
wasn't
like I
anything
feel
for
like there
this.
was almost more marketing in Japan for the like Persona 3 DLC just a month ago more than this.
Yeah, that's what it seemed like. Yeah. So I was surprised there wasn't as much marketing as they put in their other releases, but it still sold. It beat Dragon Ball as you said, so which was like yeah, quite surprising. And it sold quite decently for a new IP in Japan. So yeah, I was happy to see that.
So masterfully segging way, making a good segue here, with a terrible mention of the segue. Speaking of metaphor, in that demo released at Tokyo Game Show. You were there. You went to the big budget Sega party. You were snorting coke next to Shadow the Hedgehog, bumping fists with all the mafia members. It was very impressive.
Although yeah,
Um,
Yakuza.
Yeah, exactly. Because listen,
No.
Sega, they don't have a lot of money to publish their games in the West, but they will never say no to throwing away at least a couple million yen at a Tokyo Game Show party.
Yeah, they love their parties. They go all out. They were only like a legend to me. Like I just saw like some
The
screenshots.
legend. You
The
know what?
legend of.
Honestly, what's kind of funny is like the parties did go down in scale after Nagoshi left. You could definitely tell that when
Uh,
Nagoshi left, they were like, "All
yeah.
right, we probably don't have to invite this many prostitutes. We could probably just like lower it by like two or three."
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's funny. But yeah, they did still have a few pole dancers in the party that came out during some musical performances, which is quite entertaining. But yeah, that was a cool experience. Kind of it's kind of funny, but yeah, the only thing they didn't have was like I heard of like legendary hot dogs, like Sonic hot dogs. They didn't have
Hmm.
any hot dogs at the
What?
party, so it's like blasphemous.
Oh my
No
god.
hot
I
dogs
mean,
with a
honestly, you know
Sonic
what? I
games
actually, now
releasing.
that I think about it, I can't really be that mad. Only to the fact that, like, you know what's funny about all the hype that's been going into Shadow and Sonic Generations?
Uh,
Almost no one has talked about the fact that Sonic Generations is included in this game. Like nobody cares about the Sonic aspect of this. Like even
that's
when
funny.
they announced like Keanu Reeves was going to be in the like movie DLC, I heard no one be like, "Oh well, I hope Ben Schwartz is in the game too. Can we get can we get movie Sonic and Sonic Generations?" They're like, "No, buddy, this
Yeah,
is Shadow's time to shine."
yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, of course, Sonic. But yeah, Sega really going all out, and especially at TGS, I think Sega really tried to go all out and go all big on like the blitz and the glam and tried to show off a lot. So yeah, they start that with the Sega party, which is just like a party in a really nice nightclub in Roppongi, which is like a kind of fancy area of Tokyo. Where people like rich people go out to shop or party. So that's where they throw their Sega party, and it's just basically all the like the executives are there, the Sega executives, like and they invite a bunch of press there as well. So like I met like Kit and Krista there, and also the Skill Up, Ralph from Skill Up, he was there. So those kind of people, and then a bunch of press like from especially from like Southeast Asia. There's a lot of Southeast Asia press sites there. And yeah, I got invited with like some European press. So I was there with like some European press. So that's how I got in there. But yeah, it was really cool. They just have like a nightclub, music, Sega performances, pole dancers. So they have some snacks, but this time they just had like little like little snacks you could take. Yeah, not that much, and then like free drinks as well. But yeah, that's it's just a party just to show off, I think, for Sega, with like the Yakuza people and the Sonic people and like the Atlas people, all there. Yeah, but going into TGS like is where they always have like the biggest booth at TGS. So Sega's like really tried to show off at TGS. That's how I felt like they do like stage shows during TGS. Like every hour they have like a different stage show. There's like a Sonic stage show. There's like a Metaphor one where like the guy that goes like "Humya, humya, humya," like the battle song. They had the guy on the
They
stage.
had the throat chaining guy come out.
Yeah, they had the throat chanting guy on the stage doing it live, which is cool. Then they have the Yakuza guys. The Yakuza guys did like some musical. The guy who plays Majima, the voice actor, he was like doing a live musical on the stage. He like sang a song and did a dance as well, which is a bit crazy. And they have all that going on while down below there's like the demo units and you could play. So yeah, while I lined up for like an hour or so to play Sonic Generations, and during that was when the Metaphor show came on, and like you just look up and you can see like these guys performing and dancing above you while you're playing the demo, below on the demo station. So it's really cool. Yeah, the Sega booth always like one of the most impressive at TGS. But yeah, this year they did have a lot of other booths as well that were quite big. Like there's a PlayStation one this year, a big Capcom one with Monster Hunter, um, and a few others. But yeah, the Sega one in recent years has been one of the biggest ones, which is impressive. So they really like TGS, Sega, and Atlas. Oh yeah, there was this like that big like Majora's Mask style crater moon thing,
Oh
you
my
know, for
God,
the
yeah,
yeah, that
I
was
forgot
really
that that was
cool.
at their booth. I'll have to pull this. I think I'd seen some good pictures of it, but like that booth display was like the first time I'd seen them do one in probably since Catherine. Did you go to the last TGS like
Oh no, the first yeah, I
this?
only went the first one was like 2 3. I think when I yeah, my first one was when I talked about it on your podcast. That's probably
Oh,
the first
sorry.
one I
So
went to.
2022 is your first. I'll show you a
Yeah.
picture, or you should look up if you get a chance. In 2018, before Catherine Full Body came out, they had the whole booth was themed around the game, which is so funny I think because that was also Studio Zero's last game, so the game before Metaphor. So
Okay.
the booth, the only way to get into it was Catherine, the new Catherine, um, lifting her skirt up, and you had to walk through under her skirt to get into play the game.
Oh damn, I missed a good one. That's a
the
crazy booth.
photos, the photos from that TGS were so wild of people just being like,
Oops.
"Wow,
Oh man, that's
we're
it.
just fully going in between a woman's legs to play games now." All right.
Yeah, yeah. Sega and Atlas, they like to go crazy for TGS.
I mean, it was just funny, especially just because like that one we hadn't seen a booth like that in a while. But like, yeah, that shot with the like kind of moon crater face, it is just like it's so Majora's Mask. Like it's almost hard not to just call it like the moon from Majora's Mask. But what's really nice is the collector's edition over here. We got a steel book. And in the collector's edition, if you open it up, it's that shot of all the characters looking up from the Earth at the like moon, really, really close. Like it's a really cool shot.
Oh, sweet. Yeah. Oh yeah, the art design in Metaphor is just crazy. So stylish. Like
I
the menus are
I've
it's
been telling
crazy
people
how
I'm like
stylish it is.
I'm here for the Persona 5 erasure. If people want to start being like this game is the new like, oh, this is better than Persona 5, this looks better than Persona 5, cuz like as I'm playing this I'm like, "Oh man, I'm ready for this game to take over." Like I want William A. Metaphor to be a crossover collab in every game now. I want every mobile game to have like I want us to get like to the point where we're milking Metaphor because I'm like anything that like lets us get away from Persona 5 I'm happy with. And like I love
Oh, you
Persona
want the
5, but if like
Metaphor dancing game?
yeah, oh my god. Oh my god, I didn't think of that.
That'd be
It'll just be
crazy.
called it'll be called Metaphor handshaking all night or whatever. It'll just be
Yeah,
the only
that'd
way
be
to win the
crazy.
election is to go to all the different locations in Metaphor and have a dance party. Whoever dances the best gets to become king.
You get to be on the new king. Yeah, that'd be sick. Yeah,
Oh my
Metaphor
god.
Tactica. Yeah, they can do it all.
I will say though, you know what's shocking was just to show how different, even though like it's very Atlas coded Metaphor. What's funny about it is when I was playing through the opening segments because my wife didn't get to watch me play the demo, but she was watching the opening and she's like, "Oh, what is this?" Because like she couldn't even tell by looking at it
Oh
that like
wow.
even the gameplay, she was like, "Oh, like well like yeah, who makes this? Like what's this about?" Like, "Oh, this is just from the Persona 5 guys." And she's like, "Really?" Because
That's cool.
they're so different, and I think that's like such a testament to it, especially just with
Hmm.
it's it's a tough time to be an RPG that stands out, but I think this with the art style, the setting, and the pedigree is such a good mixture of like you can tell that they really took their time and they really must have like honed this because like nothing in the game or even like kind of like with the art style with it, like nothing kind of just feels like, oh, I've seen this before or oh, I've experienced this. And that's always my thing with fantasy. I very rarely like things that are like medieval fantasy because I've seen it so much. Like I've told people I've never played a single Elder Scrolls game because every time I look at it I'm like, I've seen this so many times. I'm like, there's nothing visually really interesting about Elder Scrolls, even though I'm sure they're really good games. Like, I just have no interest in that world. Whereas, like, I never once had that with Metaphor. Even if Metaphor was by
That's
like some
cool.
other developer, I think because the way they mix our world with theirs, and the kind of like in the sense of like we are the fantasy world to them, and all the different races and all the things like that. Like, I think that goes a really long way.
Oh yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I'm really happy they did that. And yeah, I heard there was like this story that they were looking at going towards a more like close fantasy, like Lord of the Rings style, but they decided to make it like their own take on fantasy, which I much prefer compared to that. And I'm happy they went in that direction. And yeah, it just looked really original and unique and just like super stylish. And yeah, I was just blown away by the menus and how they pop and how like well designed and like they're kind of like hand drawn paintings, like the menus and the character artwork. So yeah, I was really impressed by the just the overall design of the game. So and yeah, and I like you can like do the action battles for like the smaller enemies. Like you're not going to turn-based straight away. So I like how they mix up the gameplay as well. So yeah, like going through the dungeons and stuff. So yeah, I was really impressed with the what I've seen so far. But yeah, I hope to start it soon. But it's a big commitment because it's a long game. But yeah, it looks like super impressive, and I'm really happy it's selling well and doing well for yeah the Atlas team. So yeah, it's really good.
Kind of going back to TGS for a little bit. How do you feel like size and attendance wise this year was versus the last 2 years?
Oh, okay, yeah. If it seems to be getting bigger and bigger every year. And this year, the big game was Monster Hunter Wilds. There wasn't that many as big a blockbusters as
Oh my!
other years.
Were you strong enough to wait the line? I saw the line from TGS and
Oh,
Gamescom. The line for
yeah,
Monster
yeah,
Hunter
that's
was
crazy.
insane.
Yeah, yeah, especially in Japan, like Japan and Monster Hunter is just crazy. It's like, yeah, I think it's probably the biggest franchise at the moment, like gaming wise. Oh, that's like non-Nintendo one. But yeah, so yeah, yeah, I didn't even bother trying to play Monster Hunter Wilds because I just know the lines are crazy. There's people lining up from like before 3 a.m. in the morning, like they're coming the day before just to try and get a chance to play Monster Hunter Wilds. So yeah, there's no chance I would have to wait a long time to play it. So I didn't get to play it there. So but yeah, it was crazy. Like the public days especially, there was just so many people rushing to the Capcom booth and the Sony booth to try and play Monster Hunter Wilds. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. So that's going to be like a big hit. And it'll be interesting to see like what it does for PS5 sales because that's like probably the only like really viable place you can play it unless unless you're like a PC gamer
Well, and
in Japan.
into beefy PC too. Like
Hmm.
that game's gonna be like a big one of, I think, selling a lot of PS5s in a way that we didn't see until like FF16. Because I think
Yeah.
even one of the reasons people kind of like forget about like 16 being a little bit more powerful at sales than Rebirth is with Rebirth. It's not like that was a series that started on PS5. So people are going to be like, "Oh
Hmm.
well, I'll get to it eventually, or I might wait till it's on PC just because they've had other places to play it." Versus whereas like this is new, this is only going to be on this. You're not gonna, there's not going to be like a 3 to 9 months later. Oh well, here's the PS4 version of Monster Hunter Wilds. Like that these are your only options to play it.
Yeah, yeah, that's for sure. That yeah gave 16 a big push on the PS5 compared to Rebirth. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Monster Hunter Wilds does to the PS5 market in Japan. I hope it does something, but yeah, it's kind of worrying with the super expensive price of the PS5. So yeah, actually, I heard that the only reason PlayStation was there is like because of Capcom. Capcom was like yeah, you need to be at TGS as well because
Well,
Sony haven't been at
technically that
TGS for a long
in
time.
the Kojima stuff as well. Although, man, I
Yeah.
watched that entire Kojima
Oh,
presentation.
you watched that?
I watched
I thought,
the whole thing,
oh
and
my
I was
gosh,
like,
that's crazy.
so I was getting, my wife was cutting my hair, and was watching it while she was cutting my hair the whole time, and I can understand what they're saying even though it wasn't getting translated. She doesn't as much, so she would just be like, "So what are they talking about?" Because like she'd be like, they're just saying a lot of nothing really. Like they're not showing the game that much. They're just kind of talking about it and showing expensive jackets. And I was like, no, that's kind of it. They're kind of just sitting on stage talking about nothing.
Yeah,
And
they're not revealing too much.
and I'm here for it. But it was like that's the kind of thing. Like that's a stage show anyone else could get and would get so much shit for. Whereas like I walked away from that. Like my only moment of that entire show. Did you watch it or have you checked out just mostly like the clips from it?
Just the clips. Yeah.
The only thing from that stage show that I was like, I cannot believe they did this was when they announced the singer who was debuting that song in the game.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And they showed the entire music video in the game where he dances as the puppet for Dollman, and I thought, oh, that's cool.
That's cool. And then they did a live stage show.
And then they did it live right after, as if we had not just seen that entire song done. And so outside of the fact that like outside of the fact that like I had just watched this song, I'm now watching this man live on stage try to dance and do this performance. I'm like, dude, we just saw it. Like, and what's funny is like we saw the in-game version where like he looks way better, everything looks way cleaner, and now they're doing it live, and he looks really tired. He's like, it's been a long day. It's like, just let it. Why are you making him do this? Just you showed it. Just keep going.
That's funny. Yeah, it's probably like early. Yeah, because it was early in the morning. It was like 9 a.m. or something. Mm-hmm. So he was probably like still sleepy.
Yeah,
on the stage.
The two big takeaways was that dance was weird, and my wife could not get over how expensive those jackets were, and that they sold out immediately.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I guess they also had to go to do that stage show for Sony. For Kojima, but yeah, it's sad they didn't have any like release dates or anything for that.
Well, it's funny. I loved that not only did they not have a release date for it, is that Kojima said, "Oh well, I know the release date. I just can't tell you guys." You just say you don't know the release date. Then why are you saying? Just why are you saying this?
Yeah,
it's like, oh well, we've got a really busy slate of only one other game announced for next year for Sony. So where are we gonna fit it in there? Who knows?
Yeah, that was crazy.
Oh, crazy the other highlight I will say, Nicholas Wind and Refn being there, it is so funny because like this is the most we've really got to see an English director on stage talking with Kojima, because like the Jordan Peele thing was like maybe 3 or 4 minutes, but like Nicholas Wind and Refn just being on there for like 10 or 15 minutes. Literally saying nothing. Like they didn't ask him about the game. He's up there and he's just saying, like, he thinks it's so funny that he says that him and Kojima look alike and they're brothers. So that's all he does for like 15 minutes. It's like he doesn't talk about his character in the game. He doesn't talk about how Hartman is going to be any different. Because remember, he doesn't play Hartman. Hartman just looks like him. Hartman's played by another actor. He didn't talk to the Japanese voice actor for Hartman, even though he was right there. It's like, crazy. We're going to talk about how much my director friend thinks that we look alike.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, they also had to extend the show because they didn't have enough time, so they made it like a half an hour longer, and then they had to make the show start at half an hour earlier to fit it in. That's
you gotta get the second dance number, and there's no other way to make the second dance number fit.
Yeah. I guess the dance number is just good for the people who are actually in the venue, probably, and who know that pop star.
But no, I thought that was great. I mean, honestly, I think TGS this year, this was the most stuff I'd had seen at the show and coming out of the show that I was like, man, I really would have liked to be there this year more than anyone, just because like I think the just kind of like attendance, the companies that were there and everything was just like, it was really, really cool. Even if it wasn't like huge for news, because TGS has never really been really big for news, but like there's always at least something that's kind of cool, whether it be like a presentation to go to or to get your hands on it.
Yeah. Those are the cool things about TGS. Like you can go to like the stage shows, and they have like legends like Sakaguchi and Uematsu from Final Fantasy just on stage talking, and then you can just go up to them and see them. So I went to a few stage shows. I went to the Fantasian stage show. I went to the Final Fantasy 16 stage show with Yoshi P, and the Japanese voice actors for 16, and that was cool as well. So yeah, and Konami had a really big booth, and I got to try Metal Gear Solid, which was also fun.
Oh my
So
God. I need a
yeah,
release
this
date
year
for
was
that game so
awesome.
bad,
Oh
man. I
yeah,
cannot
yeah.
wait.
Yeah, yeah. They said they've got the game made start to finish, but they're just polishing. They're just taking time to polish. So hopefully it's out soon, and they announce a release date. I think maybe like at the Game Awards they'll announce something, a date, hopefully. Anyway, I hope they announce a date soon. That'd be cool. But yeah, it looked really impressive on Unreal 5, so I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, but yeah, this year's TGS was really good. Yeah, nothing too big in terms of announcements, as you said. But yeah, there was like 274,000 people that attended over the 4 days. So I think it's like up there with like the top attendances. I don't think it's the top one, but it's going to like the top levels. I think 2019 was the biggest one before COVID. So it's almost like back to those levels now. So that's good. So I think even next year will be even bigger, hopefully. Yeah, so that's good. Yeah, hopefully you can come sometime. That'd be
The
awesome if
goal,
you
the
can make
goal
it.
is my two crazy things I want to try and make happen next year is I want to try and do AX better slash more than I did last time, and
Nice.
and fly to Japan. If I can maybe trick my wife into going to Japan, and oops, Tokyo Game Show's happening. Oh no, we got a media pass. Oh, I guess we gotta go now.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, do that for sure. That'd be
Um,
awesome.
what would the other one be with it? But there was another thing with it that I was going to ask about. Oh, please tell me, Genki, did you do a 10 pull at the Shift Up booth? I need to know if you made real women appear at the Shift Up booth.
Oh, oh no. I watched some people do it, but I didn't do the gacha, the Nikkei,
That
real
was
life gacha button.
that was so funny and so like I was like I don't like I know what we're getting out of this. I just couldn't. It was just kind of so funny. I'm like, I think booth design wise, that was brilliant. Of like at the Nikkei booth, it would just be like they had like I think it was like was it always the same women who would pop up in cosplay, or would it be different just depending on the time? Do you think?
Yeah, they had so many cosplayers. So they would like rotate in and out. Yeah, they had like 30 or 40 cosplayers on their stage throughout the whole show. So yeah, they would rotate, and yeah, there was like these ones stuck behind the glass, and then it's like like a clouded glass, and then you press a button, and it's like a gacha, and then they appear. It's quite funny though. Yeah, there's a big line to press the button to the real life gacha for the cosplay ladies there. But it
I
was fun.
was,
It was fun.
I will say, because when you mentioned the Metal Gear booth, I forgot about this. I was sad that Suikoden was there, but like not playable.
Oh yeah, yeah. They just had an exhibition room, but it was just artwork of the game, and they didn't have the game there at all. So yeah, that was a bit sad that they didn't have it playable, as you said. Yeah, that would have been cool to check out.
Oh, I forgot to ask you, man. This goes to show like how much stuff was it. Like the metaphor presence overtook it. I completely forgot. They also had a shit ton of Persona 5X stuff because they finally announced the Japanese date.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. There was you could play it. I think was it playable? It might have been playable
It
there.
was playable, but I know that because I forgot that they were handing out those like little cutaway fans to everybody.
Oh yes, yeah, they had like a stage, a little demo area for the Persona 5 X game, and they had the cosplayers at the front, and yeah, they were giving away some some goods and stuff. So yeah, that was also there this year, which was cool. Yeah, the cosplayers were really cool though for that one.
Genki, I won't be mad. I'll just be disappointed if you say no. Did you get to play Dynasty Warriors Origins?
Oh no, I didn't.
Oh my
I
god.
tried to squeeze it in. Like I will. It was the last day, and there was only like 10 minutes of
I
TGS
think
left.
I think that game
And
looks so good. Like technically,
yeah,
I feel
yeah.
like that's like the first Omega Force game where they like finally are like, you know what? We should make games that actually look good again. And I'm
Hmm.
like, let's go. And I don't mean like fun good. I mean I love like all Omega Force games. Like I feel like you look at I mean it doesn't help that Dynasty Warriors 9 really sucked, but like Dynasty Warriors like technically I feel like hasn't been like impressive
No, never.
since like I mean I want to say the PS3 generation, but like, even those ones were okay. Like I guess like Dynasty Warriors 8, but even that like was still a game that was like being put on handhelds and stuff like that. So like looking at everything we've seen with like Origins, outside of the fact that it's probably the worst subtitle they could have given it. But I mean, listen, they couldn't just keep doing this forever. Like we weren't going to call it Dynasty Warriors 10, and then you guys would have to call it Dynasty Warriors 9. They're like, we gotta stop doing this.
Yeah, yeah. It looks really nice, like the graphics and like yeah, they're just really trying to go for that high performance with as many characters or as many enemies on screen as they can possibly fit. So that's a really cool concept they're going for. But yeah, I sadly didn't get to try it out, but it was I think that's the only game I didn't get to try out that I wanted to try. Yeah, but it does look really good.
Do you want to do like a quick speed round of any other games you got to check out? Even if it was just for like a little bit of
Hmm.
anything you got to play or anything you wish you had had a chance to check out?
Oh yeah, the game that was most impressive was Phantom Blade Zero, which is the new like Chinese action game,
Oh,
and
that looks
it
so
kind of
good.
looks like yeah, yeah. When you look at the trailers, it kind of looks unreal and like not like it's like oh, how is that
It,
possible?
it,
But
it
it's
looks like
actually a
it's
real
too
game.
good to be true. Like when you look at
Exactly.
gameplay,
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
like waiting for someone to be like, actually, it's pre-rendered.
Exactly, yeah, yeah. So, but it does actually play really well as well. So it's like it is. Look, the animation and the combat was so amazing and really fun. So yeah, that game. If you're an action game fan, and yeah, that game is one to look out for. And the graphics and the like the Chinese like Hong Kong style movie animations are like super super impressive. So I was really impressed by that game. It's still really early, so they don't have a release date. It could be like 2026 for all we know. So, but it does look really good and plays really well. So that's good to know that it plays as good as it looks. Yeah, so that one was really probably one of my favorite games at TGS. And otherwise, I played the new Professor Layton as well
I
for
was I was just gonna ask. I was
Switch.
like, did you get a sneak over to the level 5
Hmm.
booth, man? Level 5, what a
Yeah.
weird year they've
Oh
had.
yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. Level 5. They can't keep a schedule to save their life.
The fact that
So,
you played Deca Police 2 years ago and it's still
oh
not coming
yeah,
out
that's crazy.
till
2 years
2026 is
ago.
insane.
Yeah, yeah, that is crazy. Yeah. So yeah, I played Deca Police last year. It's really good. Like they're going for like high fidelity graphics and performance. So I think that's why they got delayed. It's probably like the scope of the game was just a lot bigger than what they anticipated. And maybe they got a lot of good feedback from the demos from last year when it was there.
Hmm.
So probably that's why. But it was kind of crazy. Like you could play it a year ago, and then now it's just missing and delayed until we don't know when. So
It
that's
got delayed
crazy.
so long that they felt confident enough to say, "Yeah, it'll be a Switch 2 game." It'll be like that. That's how long the delay was. They're like, "Don't worry, Switch 2 will be up by now."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that was a crazy one. But yeah, level 5 are back. So in the last 2 years they've returned from being in like desolate like isolation or something. But they had Professor Layton and the Fantasy Life Eye game. I tried out Professor Layton and yeah, it's really good. The graphics are like they're 3D, but they kind of look 2D, so it has a really cool effects. And otherwise it's just like classic Professor Layton gameplay. So yeah, but yeah, it was good. I only played for 10 minutes, so I tried some
What
like
what was
connecting
uh
wire
what was the
puzzle.
demo on?
Switch. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I think yeah, it's only on Switch. I think that's a Switch exclusive. So that's interesting. Um, but I think it'll sell well on the Switch, and yeah, the graphics look nice. It's like a 2D style, but otherwise it's the same like kind of point and click classic Layton gameplay. So yeah, it's not doing too much in terms of gameplay
The the
new.
late the latent ones though are always kind of funny. I I weirdly skipped all the 3DS ones, but one of the things I loved the most about playing the original, I think, trilogy on DS was I loved the different settings. Like it was always really cool of like where you're going. So like I think the big one this time is like a futuristic steampunk world, and I think like that's like a really cool sort of fit for
Hmm.
very different but still kind of in that same vein.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, the environments look really good, and yeah, the 3D character models look really nice as well. But otherwise, it's like the same kind of 2D, like point and click gameplay, as in the classic Layton games. But yeah, look cool. Otherwise, yeah, I think that's the most of the games. Yeah, I got to play Fantasian, as I said, Dragon Quest. Got to play some like Metal Gear Infinity Nikki, which is like or Nikkei, however it's called.
I've
That
been
game.
getting a lot of ads for that. Like I'm still like I know what the game is, but it's kind of like this weird thing of like I'm wondering how did they demo that? Was it just like here's the open world, do whatever you want, or was it kind of like was it like a guided demo? Like how do you demo that game?
Oh, okay, yeah. For this demo though, like the game is open world, but you can't do any of that. And they just they put you in this like church thing where you start like in a church building, and then it's just like a linear level that you go through. It's like, oh, don't. There's a door behind you. You can go outside the church into the open world, but don't do that. Just go the other way, go down into like the dungeon, and there's like a linear level for you there. So, so
I will
they'll
say
like.
I think as long as that game comes out and doesn't like blow people's computers up, like I think that game could be pretty big, like because it looks really good. Like visually, it looks really impressive.
Yeah, yeah, the character models were really nice, which yeah, and it's a very floaty game, so I think that it was designed that way because like you just jump and float everywhere, and that's what the platforming is, so a lot of floating.
All right, Genki, last question. What was the best and worst swag item you got at TGS?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah. Best one. Let's think. I like I got I was there for the 4 days, so I got really tired. But if you show
Hard to be
your
you.
because like the public days they get super crazy. It's like it's just people everywhere, and you're just like a sardine in the mush in the crowd if you go on the public days. But yeah, but if you go to the Sega booth and show your pre-order of Sonic and Shadow Generations, they give you a nice box with two Red Bulls in it. So
Oh, I
I
mean,
really
hey, listen,
appreciated that.
not physically good for you, energy wise, much needed.
Yeah, so that was much needed. But yeah, otherwise, there was some cool swag. They had the cool metaphor bags, like the big Atlas bags that they hand
Oh
out.
my
But
god.
this one was like a metaphor one, so that was a cool.
I saw that bag and I was like, oh, Genki, just if it wasn't for the fact that that bag would be the least fun thing to have to ship without folding it into a million pieces, I would want to steal that bag so bad.
Oh yeah. Oh, and another lifesaver was at the Metal Gear booth. If you take a picture in the picture spot, they'll give you a calorie mate. So
Oh,
I got
because
like
yeah,
a nice
they're
calorie mate
doing the
as
collaboration
a
again.
thing.
I mean, like
Yeah.
there are some things like you just can't separate. I would say Monster Energy and Death Stranding, but unfortunately that the Kojima killed that one. But Calorie Mate and Metal Gear Solid 3 are like so synonymous. Like the only other one we would
Hmm.
need as well is like Cup Noodle still.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and they also had these Astrobot fans. Couldn't do the Astrobot gacha machine. That was probably the coolest thing they had there was like a massive Astrobot real life gacha
Yeah,
machine with these
what were the
t-shirts.
prizes in the gotcha machine?
Oh, there was like four different designs of t-shirts you could get in a giant gacha ball. So that's what the prize was. But you have to line up and play the demo in order to get them. And there were only four demo booths or demo stations. So it was really hard to get a ticket for that. So I didn't manage to do that. But it looked cool though. The big giant, they had a giant Astrobot gacha machine like in the game. Yeah, that was cool. Yeah. So that was the best. Like, what was the other question you asked?
What was the worst freebie item? What was one you got?
Oh,
They're
the
like,
worst.
what am I gonna do with
I'll
this?
do with this. Okay, no. Worst one. It's all really cool stuff because it's in a TDS. So they give you a lot of clear files and fans because it was really hot. inside the venue, so you get a lot of fans. So if you don't like fans, then you'll get a lot of them. Other useless stuff.
Conventions are hard. It's like because at the very least, it's like it's hard to be offended by getting anything for free, even though most of it's just going to go in your bag you already got for free, and then we'll never use again.
Yeah, just junk. Like they were giving out these Metal Gear crocodile paper hats. It's like pretty useless, but I guess it's cool. Some people liked it, but I thought they were pretty useless.
Well, Genki, I appreciate you coming on. Once again, I tricked you into saying we'll talk primarily about TGS, but of course we just end up talking about video games anyway. But I appreciate you coming on and chatting with me for much longer than the 90 minutes I thought we would do. But where can people find you? They're craving more Genki. They want to get back to Genki the Gooner on Twitter. Where can they find your tweets?
Oh yeah, maybe once the Stellar Blade up photo mode comes out, I might go back to that title.
You'll have to just make a new Twitter account. It'll just be for Stellar Blade screenshots.
Yeah, not bad idea. But yeah, you can find me on Twitter mainly at Genki_JPN. That's where I mostly tweet. And I'm also on Instagram at Genki Gamer JP, and on YouTube you can find me at Genki Gamer. So please check out my videos on YouTube or the tweets on Twitter. And thanks Spencer for having me on the show. It was fun to be on again, and hopefully I can come back another time as well.
When I eventually
hopefully you can make it to Japan.
Oh yeah. When I eventually have the time and can sucker you into it, I'll invite you on for like a 9-hour Final Fantasy VII Rebirth conversation.
Oh yes, please. Yeah, that and Stellar Blade, my game of the year this year. So yeah.
Still don't have Stellar Blade. Fake fan over here.
Oh yeah, you need to get Stellar Blade. Oh yeah, at least when the update or when the near.
I was holding out for the photo mode. I was like, I'm not playing this till the photo mode gets here.
I'm not playing it until I can get those photos. No joke. Yeah.
I was waiting for the game to get uncensored. I had to wait for the boob physics to get enhanced by 15%. And now I'm like, now I can buy this game.
15% improved boob physics. Yeah, the soundtrack is amazing for Celebrations also. Because it's got like the near people.
I played that demo many times. I'm very aware I will love this game. Just have not had the time to just. It's too many games, man. It's too many games in 2024.
That's crazy, yeah. So if you want lots of Stellar Blade and Final Fantasy Rebirth content, please follow my Twitter, and I'll post lots of pictures.
All right, everyone, thank you for listening to this episode. If you enjoy this kind of debauchery on a weekly basis, who wouldn't? Don't forget to subscribe. All of our links for both the show and Genki will be down in wherever the heck you are listening at. Big shout out, though, to all of our patrons who help support the show and keep it going every week. If you would like to support the show just by subscribing, that super helps. You can do it for free. Always appreciated. But best way to help is also by going to patreon.com/SMTN. You can go there, support us. $1 and up gets the show early, like this one, exclusive giveaways, as well as $5 and up patrons. They get the absolute luxury of me probably butchering their name on a weekly basis. So shout out to all of our executive producers, John Massey, Crazy Sloth, Michael Wilson, Budweiser Tall Cans, Carlos Hernandez, Cross Renren, Winnie, Jaginga, Scorosero, Solaire, Stephen Yip, and Patrick Dessart. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Genki, for coming on. Sorry I kept you up so late. I don't know. Are you normally like up pretty late, or how late do you normally get to stay up these days?
Oh yeah. Usually I'll have to. Yeah, sometimes I stay up quite late, or I just wake up in the middle of the night, like at 1 or 2, randomly. So usually I get to sleep quite late, maybe around 1 or 2 o'clock.
All right. Well, enjoy your weekend. Hopefully you and I will get to actually play some Metaphor, and I can bug you about it later. But thank you for coming on, and thank you everybody for listening.
No worries. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye.